At the end of and this is even before the steel controversy. 1961, December. Donald Hardenbrook, NAM, that's National Association of Manufacturers. This is how the business community thinks of Kennedy in December 1961. I would not be surprised if future historians writing about this period we are living in will call it a return to the age of intervention by government into the lives and rights of citizens. How do bills which are unsound, meaning Kennedy's unsound, and collectivists, meaning socialists, in principle become law? He says this, but tonight I want to say that deep down below the surface another tide is forming, a tide of revulsion against unsound and false economic, government, and social doctrines. We don't have to run scared anymore. We can save our children, and their children's children. So I'm reading this and I'm realizing this is the head of the businessmen's group, National Association of Manufacturers. I'm thinking, what's he going to do to save his grandchildren's trust? Maybe he knows by December 61. Gerald S. Kennedy at the end of 61, General Mills, Executive Committee Chairman. Government is working its way towards what might be called crippling controls over business and is being held back not only by not having the power that it would like over Congress, meaning Congress is not giving Kennedy the power he wants to cripple business. That's General Mills, okay? These are educated people. Roger Blau, 1961, chairman of U.S. Steel. He mentions of a sinister Washington that's going to try to end profits and introduce Russian socialism into America. That's the head of U.S. Steel saying stuff like this in 61. So you know they hate the man, for one thing, and you know they're overreacting. At least right now they're overreacting. Henry Ford, well. So in 61, they've already had it with Kennedy. But it's not till 62 that the economic elite decide that Kennedy has to go. He's merely a nuisance in 61, okay? 62, he becomes more than a nuisance, he becomes a threat. At least they think he's a threat. And perception is everything, all right? One of the things he's asking Congress in 61 and 62 is automatic withholding of taxes from dividends and interest. Kennedy points out that we're losing $1 billion in taxes each year because the rich aren't paying their taxes. So he wants it to be automatically taken out of your dividends. Now, if you're me, it doesn't matter, you know, but if you're one of the super rich and you have $10 million in the stock market and you're getting $1 million a year, 10% return on your investment, that's $1 million coming into you. And now you got a president saying, I'm going to take 200,000 of it every year, quarterly. Obviously, Congress did not pass it, but Kennedy's proposing this stuff. Now you become a threat to the economic elite. Like I said, the other stuff makes you angry. The guy's a nuisance. We can live with it. We can't live with anyone taking our money, though, no matter how much we got. Which leads us to the steel controversy. People always say Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis, how great he did. I say this was his finest moment. For those of you who don't remember, let me tell you what happened. He's trying to hold down inflation. He says inflation is the great enemy of the American people. And he was able to hold it down to 1% over those 3 years, which is phenomenal. He's working with the steel industry and the unions, asking the unions not to ask for too much. But he expects steel not to raise prices. The unions cave in and out of deference to the president and to the good of the country say they don't ask for too much and they don't get too much. Barely after they sign the contract, Roger Blau comes into Kennedy's office and says, we're raising steel, $6 a ton. Kennedy doesn't say too much, the gentleman that he is, but he's furious. What does Kennedy do? Because he's just been screwed in the rear end by the business community, by the economic elite. What they're telling him is, you're not running this country, you're the president. We run this country. Have your women, have a good time, eat nice dinners, but stay out of our business. They're putting the president in his place, which they've been trying to do anyway for 1.5 years. But what does Kennedy do? Does he stay in his place? No. He goes on national television, if any of you are old enough to remember it, during the press conference, and well, let's see what he says. National television. Simultaneous and identical actions of United States Steel and other leading steel corporations increasing steel prices by $6 a ton constitute a wholly unjustifiable and irresponsible defiance of the public interest. Then he goes on and he explains to the American people how steel is in everything. If steel is allowed to raise the price $6 a ton, anything that has steel in it is going to cost you more. Your car is going to cost more. Defense Department is going to pay a fortune. It's going to cause inflation to go up. So he's appealing logically to the American people why steel should not do this. Then he goes like this. The American people will find it hard, as I do, to accept a situation in which a tiny handful of steel executives whose pursuit of private power and profit exceeds their sense of public responsibility can show such utter contempt for the interests of 185 million Americans. This is the President of the United States talking to the American people, telling them like it what it is, dissing the #1 corporation in America. He gets them logically again. The industry's cash dividends have exceeded $600 million in each of the last 5 years. They're not exactly going broke, are they? And its earnings in the first quarter of this year were estimated in the February 28th Wall Street Journal, just a few months before, to be among the highest in history. Kenny then voices how, this isn't how the free enterprise system should work. Companies getting together and setting prices. It's illegal, as a matter of fact. He winds up his speech after giving the steel company some more trouble. Some time ago, I asked each American to consider what they would do for his country, and I asked the steel companies. In the last 24 hours, we had their answer. So he just took it to U.S. Steel. They thought they were going to give it to him. He gave it back. He doesn't stop there. Here's what gets him killed, though. First thing he does is he orders the Department of Defense not to order any steel from U.S. Steel or any of the other steel companies who raised it. That cuts out a lot of profits for U.S. Steel. Second, and more important perhaps, he has Robert Kennedy, the Attorney General, to go after him. Robert Kennedy sends the FBI to the steel company executives' offices with subpoenas. They subpoena all their paperwork. It's now a criminal investigation for price fixing. We're not talking little mamby-pamby businesses. We're talking top corporations. Steel thinks twice about it. Prison doesn't look so hot to them. Their arrogance is popped. They rescind the prices. And as I say in my book, Kennedy won the battle, didn't he? Showed he was a man. But he lost the war. Because it's this action is when the economic elite decide, we got to get rid of them. Let's assassinate him. Fortunately, the economic elite have a mechanism for doing that. You don't have that mechanism when Franklin Roosevelt's there. These guys, their fathers, and even them as young men, remember, if you're 60 in 1960, you're 30 in 1930. You hated Roosevelt as much as you hated Kennedy. You can't get to Roosevelt. There's no CIA that can assassinate him. In fact, wasn't the assassination attempt, someone named Cermak, the mayor of Chicago, got killed. Roosevelt's right next to him. How do I know that they weren't trying for Roosevelt? But the point is, in 61, 62, and 63, they economically now have an organization that can assassinate anyone they want. They're geared up for that. And what I see also, after the fall of 62, there's no more criticism of Kennedy in the business magazines. Astounding. Every week I read it, 61 and 62. Now in the fall and all through 64, they stopped criticizing him. Why? The fix is in. They know he's going to die. They don't want any heat coming on them afterwards. When you're going to win, you're going to win. You don't have to tout your horn anymore. So that was kind of glaringly absent, their criticism of Kennedy, after really raking him over the coals. I pinpoint the assassination decision September 62 for two reasons. One is Santos Trafficante. He's mafia in Florida. He's working with the CIA to assassinate Castro. He tells Jose Aleman, a Cuban, who he wants to recruit to help kill Castro because Aleman got run out of Cuba. He was rich, and his father. He tells him at lunch, because Aleman says, Kennedy's going to be reelected. And Trafficante says, no, Jose, you don't understand. Kennedy is going to be hit. Okay? Well, maybe the mafia is going to hit him. Maybe that's why Cianfrocante knows Kennedy's going to be hit. But that's September 14th. What I noticed in government documents is on September 3rd and I think September 9th or 10th, 2 meetings are held in Miami with Johnny Roselli. The man who's meeting him is William Harvey of the CIA, the same William Harvey who's in charge of the CIA's own executive action assassination team. He's also separately in charge of trying to assassinate Castro. So my thinking is William Harvey's letting the cat out of the bag. He's telling Roselli, don't worry about Kennedy, we're going to take care of him. Roselli's reporting it back to Cianfrocante. That's if Cianfrocante isn't at those meetings himself at the Fontainebleau Hotel. So I pinpoint the CIA's decision to assassinate Kennedy by September of '62. The Cuban Missile Crisis hasn't even come about yet. They're already deciding to kill him. Cuban Missile Crisis comes about, now the military comes on board, and I'll show you why in a little bit, how I know the military came on board. September '62, October, November, no more business articles about Kennedy. It's like they forgot about how bad he was for them. So September '62, the assassination's on. We go into February '63. Lee Oswald has come back into the country. He meets Ruth Paine at a party. Eventually, his kids and Marina will be staying with Ruth Paine at the time of the assassination. He'll be staying at a rooming house. So things are formulating a little bit. March, the Secret Service receives postcards. Kennedy's going to be assassinated in a motorcade. April, Oswald orders the Italian manager Carcano through the mail. It's not Oswald, it's the CIA ordering it in Oswald's writing. They're doing a pre-framing of Oswald. As we go on, in June of '63, Kennedy says, I'm coming to Dallas, fine. How about November 21st, 22nd? So they have a time set by June of '63 that Kennedy's coming to November. So now all they got to do is get prepared for Kennedy in Dallas, make sure Oswald's there, which they do. Now Jack Ruby, a lot of phone calls start with Jack Ruby in the summer. He hasn't had too much to do with the mafia since '47 or so, just little stuff. But now he starts contacting the mafia members, and it increases all the way up to November. The more and more phone calls as we go along. Now it's getting Oswald's back in Dallas, October. November 1st, this is from House Select Committee on Assassinations. There seems to be an assassination attempt, perhaps in Chicago, set for Kennedy. There's a Secret Service agent, he testifies and says that the FBI had notified them that there's going to be an assassination attempt on Kennedy in Chicago. He didn't arrest the guys, but he listened to the guys being arrested, and that's his testimony. Okay, so if he's telling the truth, and no reason to think that he's not, Dallas is just the second city to get Kennedy. They're going to try to get him somewhere else as well.